I guess before we start, I do have to put out the disclaimer that this is not medical advice specifically. Get your medical advice from the doctor that you actually see. Even if that doctor is me, don't make a change to your plan until you've actually had the discussion with your doctor, because in your case it may be different and we don't know your medications and all that kind of stuff. So I think that makes the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
That make the point?
That makes a point.
Okay, good. So here we go. What kind of symptoms occur with allergies?
Runny nose, plugged up nose, itchy eyes, runny, draining eyes,
I mean, there's
sore
pressure
throat,
right here.
ears
that
plugged. Yeah,
allergies?
pressure there.
Me when my ears are popping. And my throat's sore when I wake up in the morning.
And if you have asthma, you might have some wheezing. It'll flare your
I don't have asthma.
asthma.
Oh, good. I don't have asthma. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people come in with asthma attacks and hardly any allergy symptoms, but it's caused by allergy triggers. It's just that it affects their lungs. Sorry about that. It affects their lungs more than it affects their nasal cavities. They may have drainage, and sometimes I remember when my son was a small child, he used to wake up. He'll probably be upset that I told this story. But anyway, he would wake up in the morning. He had really bad allergies to ragweed, we found out. And so he'd get up in the morning and ragweed would hit. And by the way, pollen allergies tend to show up right about 10 o'clock in the morning is when that drip starts. There's other allergies. We'll talk about them in a minute. So he had that problem, and maybe he had allergies all night long to fungus or something like that, because that's when fungal allergies come. And he would wake up in the morning, he'd go to school with a stomach ache, and he'd end up throwing up, or even worse, and I'd have to take him home, and it was all for allergies. It was all mucus. All mucus. And so we had to start dealing with his allergies pretty young. And my daughter had asthma. She ended up in the hospital with asthma. So we had to do something. So we had to take extreme measures a long time ago to start doing something about the allergies, because they were on all these medications and stuff like that. We didn't really want to do that. So we're going to talk about basically the standard of care for what allergies are and what kind of things you might be allergic to, which we kind of touched on.
I mean, as far as medicines, you're talking about?
Well, we're going to talk about medicines, of course, but like people think they're allergic to dust. What do you think? Is it the dust?
It's probably not dust, but the dust mites, the pollen, the animal dander that's in the dirt.
Mm-hmm. And the fungus. Don't forget the fungus.
Mold,
Believe me, I know about the fungus.
Dander.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like if at night when you start feeling a lot of allergy symptoms, that's usually fungus, and it starts and it'll last all night long. But it can be exacerbated by the dust in the house. So let's say you turn on the fan or whatever, and now it's exacerbated and made worse because it's now being blown in your face. And you're sleeping on your pillow and things like that. We're going to talk about what you can do in just a few minutes. And pollen, depending on what time of year that you have your allergies, did you know that you can kind of sort of tell like what kind of problems you're having? So like if the time of the year that you have your biggest problems is in, say, April and May.
When things are blooming?
It's grass and weeds. Usually it's going to be grass and weeds. And then in late May, all the way through July, then, trees. Let me back up and just say the things that you could be allergic to, you can tell by the time of the year. And the time of the year for trees is like in the first part of the spring season, like say April and July. It kind of depends on where you live, but when the trees start to bloom late April, sometime in there, maybe early April if you're in Texas, or even March, that's going to be trees. And then as the season goes through, the next thing is the grass and the weeds. And then the late in August, which is about now, that's when the ragweed starts up. But I think in Texas, ragweed grows around year-round. I swear it does. But it should die off in the winter when it gets cold and the first frost hits, and then you get a break. Unless you're allergic to Christmas trees and you bring in a brand new fresh cedar tree like my daughter. So there was no Christmas tree at our house because we would have a major asthma attack, which was when she had her hospitalization. Actually, we got the tree, and in a few weeks she was in the hospital with allergies. And it was her second Christmas. So we have dust mites, and we have in there too as well. And a lot of people are allergic to the dust mites, so it wouldn't even matter. So first thing you're going to do when you get allergies, most people, what do?
They go to the drugstore and look for medicines.
And they get whatever they can find.
Claritin, Allegra, Zyrtec for pills, and then nose sprays, Roanoke, Flonase.
And then they get decongestants too.
Yes.
Don't you just love it when they get the medication that's full of like 15 different things, so you don't really know like
What's working?
it's like a shotgun effect. They just pour down a decongestant and an antihistamine and maybe a little Tylenol so you'll feel better, and maybe you didn't need all that stuff. And decongestants raise your blood pressure, so does a lot of other things. But yeah, the Claritin dries your mouth, increases your risk for cavities because your mouth is dry. Antihistamines dry out your body, increase your risk for cavities. And they can sometimes affect, especially older people for some reason, but it can even cause problems with urination and things like that. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you figured you did. She knows everything.
No, I don't.
She knows a lot.
With blood pressure too, some of the decongestants can affect blood pressure in people.
Yeah, and so their blood pressure is fine until they take a decongestant. And so we want to minimize that. Those sprays that go up the nose, they can cause nosebleeds, fungal infections, irritation to the nose, things like that. But use sparingly. Maybe sometimes they help, except for you have a microbiome in your face, right next to your brain. Same reason you don't want a sinus infection, because it can hurt. You can actually infect your brain. You don't want to be spraying stuff up in your nose that's going to go back into that area, or have the potential to do that because of the inflammation. But yet, sometimes that's what you need. And I've got to tell you, what's our last resort?
Steroids.
Around here, that's pretty much steroids. If everything else fails, it's steroids. What do I hate about steroids? Or what do you hate about steroids?
Well, it can raise blood sugar in the diabetics, and people that take it a lot, it can make their bones thin with osteoporosis and osteopenia. So it's not a drug without side effects.
It also can cause your tendons to rupture.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not cool.
Yes.
So if you're working out all the time and then you take the steroid for, not that I'm encouraging any other steroids, but let's say you just go and get a steroid shot because your knee hurts. Well, you have a greater potential for any of your tendons to rupture, not just your knee tendons, which would be bad. So it's almost like when someone comes in, needing steroid shots. I always have that in the back of my mind. I hope that they don't. Oh, and also because they have allergies, because their immune system is acting incorrectly. Basically, your immune system thinks, oh, this is an intruder. Bad pollen. I've got to kill it. So it acts out as a weakened immune system. Steroids do the same thing. They weaken your immune system, so you're more likely to catch a cold. Your virus, if you get one and you have a virus, let's say you just had a cold and it wasn't allergies, now your virus is going to get worse because we gave you a steroid shot. I hate that. So I don't like to do steroid shots very much, but I will, because if somebody comes in and they can't breathe.
Yeah. You just have to be aware, no matter what you put in your mouth, you got pros and cons. You got side effects that are not good. So you got to weigh, the benefit versus the risk.
Yeah, and breathing is more important than a ruptured tendon, because you won't live for the ruptured tendon. So anyway, if we're not going to do any steroid shots, if we weren't going to do anything, let's say we're going to try to control this stuff outside of the box, start doing other things, or inside the box if you understand what to do. The best thing to do is control the environment.
And that would be where you hang out the most, in your bedroom.
Yeah, but I don't think so because I'm sleeping. How do I know? Are you
There's
sure
lots
it's
of
in the
stuff
bedroom? I'm asleep. I'm unconscious.
in your.
I'm only in there for like.
Do you
10
have
minutes.
rugs in there? Do you have carpet? Do you
I
have?
have one rug. I got rid of it.
Do you have a fan on? Do you vacuum? Do you dust in your room?
Probably not enough.
So yeah, it's harboring a bunch of
I gotta get rid of all the knickknacks.
yes. I mean, if you want to have a good sleep and not be stuffed up, you kind of have to have at least one sterile room, because you sleep 8 hours. That's a third of a day.
Oh, okay. That's true.
Right?
Yeah. So I say number one, filter the air. If you know you have allergies at a certain time of the year, you can turn on your air conditioner fan and leave your fan running all the time. Your air conditioner will come on when you need it, or your heater will come on when you need it, but the fan is running all the time. So while it's running all the time, it's filtering all the air that's in your house. And so that's like almost like having a HEPA filter. Now that HEPA filter, I think we talked about that. The one that, I think you were telling me a story about that, about the HEPA filter, and you were using it?
Well, the HEPA filter that you're talking about is that screen that you put in where the furnace is.
That's one kind, but there's another kind that you can get for your whole house.
The room purifier?
Oh, yeah, the room purifier. What was that?
Well, it was just a little machine like this wide, and we just kept that in his bedroom, and it collects all the dust, everything. It purifies the air in the room, so we just kept the door shut, and he could feel a difference within 24 hours.
Wow. We don't like steroids. We don't like all these medications. Sometimes, yes, you might want to take one to give yourself a break, but there are other ways that you could do. You can make yourself healthier using foods and supplements and things like that. And so we wanted to talk about that a little bit. And I mean, what comes to mind first is actually local honey. Has to be local. And when I think about it, it's like, okay, when you go to an allergist and you want to get treatment by an allergist, the allergist will test you for all these different things, and then they figure out what you're allergic to, and then they put a combination of all of those things in micro doses, and then you put it under your tongue. They used to have you inject it, but now it's under your tongue. And honey is like doing the same thing, because the bees have gone around, they've collected all this pollen from all kinds of different places, whether you're allergic to it or not, and then you take just a teaspoon or smaller of honey. You don't need a lot because you don't want to raise your blood sugar, but you can use that teaspoon of honey. You can sweeten your coffee with it if you want to, but you can take that little bit of honey, and that will help to basically
desensitize your body.
Yeah, in the same way, in a natural way. And with the local areas and the things that are in the area that are going to bother you. But you should start it about a month before your allergies start. So it's not going to work for mold. Turmeric is really good for anti-inflammatory for allergy symptoms, but take it with black pepper. It makes it 1,000 times stronger.
Black pepper pepper shaker?
Literally, you can put black pepper on your eggs after you take your turmeric and you'll be fine. As long as you're not allergic to eggs. We haven't even talked about food allergies. That'll be a different video. But other things that help is things like apples. They have certain vitamins that will help you, as well as oranges. And then we talked about yogurt. When you buy yogurt, make sure that it has a seal on it that has an LAC. That means it has live active cultures. There's different ways to make yogurt. You can apparently make yogurt and heat it up really high. Well, that pasteurizes it and it kills all the bacteria. Well, you need the good bacteria. There's a way to make yogurt where it's kept in a warm bath and the temperature's not raised up too high, and it's able to ferment and make the good bacteria that you need in your body. And so there's a lot of yogurts that you can find even in the grocery store that do have that seal on it. But the other thing you want to look out for is not to get something that has too much sugar, because that causes inflammation.
Yeah.
Remember, we don't like sugar. We really don't. I love sugar a lot, but I really don't like sugar. It's bad for you. So vitamin C will help stabilize your mast cells, which are the same thing that's used in Montelukast. Remember, Singulair. This is vitamin C does the same thing. So why not take vitamin C instead? And vitamin C washes out of your body every day. So every day, have an orange. And omega-3s, really good for inflammation. And flaxseed works with inflammation as well. So you could take that, or walnuts. So it can be tuna salmon, or you could do walnuts and flaxseed. Those will help as well. And then quercetin is an antioxidant, and it helps with inflammation as well. And it's found in apples. Quercetin, apple a day keeps the doctor away. Quercetin is also good for our immune system. So I guess somebody knew something when they made up that phrase. I don't know. Also berries, grapes, tea, cabbage. Quercetin's in a lot of foods. And so if you decided that you wanted to get better from a lot of different things, quercetin would be helpful. But you don't have to actually take a quercetin supplement. You can actually just eat the food that's involved in it. And we're eventually going to get to what is a good diet. I'm on that study right now to find out just exactly how to make the health better. So what are you thinking about in terms of what's coming? Because we know allergies are coming our way and our patients' way. So what are we going to do? You're going to give them an allergy shot the minute they walk in the door?
No, I'm going to see, first of all, what they've done, what they've tried so far, what has worked in the past.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'll tell you a funny story about that too.
Okay.
I felt so dumb. I really felt dumb. I did not know that on the back of my piece of paper with my notes on it, there was a list of all the medications my patient had been taking. It was a new place. And so I went in the room and I'm talking to this girl about her allergies, and I said, well, you could take some Flonase and take some Claritin, because that was back in the day when I was just told a drug would take care of everything, and it doesn't. But at the time I suggested this, and she looked right at me and she goes, I'm already on that. And I felt so dumb because I turned over the paper and I'm like, oh man. So then all we were left with was the steroid shot, which I really didn't want to give her, because it doesn't just cause those problems. It'll keep you awake all night, raises your blood pressure, raises your blood sugar, it makes you irritable, sometimes it makes people in a great mood, and I think they're addicted to the steroid shot. But anyway, I can understand it. You can get a lot of stuff done after a steroid shot. It's just that you have all the risks that go with it.
But when somebody comes in and they're that miserable and they've tried everything, that's kind of what they're wanting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd give it to them.
I would too.
As long as they know the risk, and it's something that you're not going to do every month.